Welcome back to another part of Xenogears. Yep, still with Ellie.
Let's move. Let's move and talk to Billy. Why not?
And these hungover losers.
Right, we're on a mission.
I would
from
be more than
God.
happy to come along, but I won't.
Good morning. They said you were still sleeping, so I went ahead and came in. You're dressed lightly. Is that enough? We Etones have rather unique equipment. Let me explain about the equipment since we're gonna be working
Yep,
together.
Billy joins the party, and he's a gunner.
First of all, my basic equipments are guns. They're three kinds: handgun, ether gun, and big gun. The handgun is the only one that can be replaced with other versions of the same kind. I made the other two kind of guns myself, so there are no others to replace them with. You can power up a gun's attack force by changing its ammo or bullets with more powerful ones. You hear that, player? I mean, teammates. To load ammo, press right or left on the directional button on the equip menu. This will display a sub-window in place of the main equip window, where you can change out the ammo. One thing you have to be careful of is that the number of bullets for each gun is limited. To successfully manage your ammo, my ammo, you must keep an ample supply. But now that I've said this, note that ether guns do not have such a limit. So, did you understand?
Basically, what you need to know is it's very similar to Irvine from Final Fantasy VIII, only that it's applied to all of its major guns, major attacks, instead of not just the limit break.
So, special gameplay with the gun, essentially?
I will tell more later.
It's the famous rifle, Monstrosities, handed down in the Fatima family. What a waste. It's too good for you who just brandishes a whip.
Ouch.
Wow. Okay.
Hey!
Okay.
Why are you getting sharp with me? Oh, sorry, it's just... I didn't think you would have an interest in guns. Being a pirate and all.
I think pirates do. Like, yeah.
Well,
Bart's
anyway,
the exception to the rule,
Billy?
Edge.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know why you became an Eton.
I'm not interested.
Nobody asked you!
I did. Let's see. Etones help out strangers, so I suppose that would make you curious.
No, I don't mean that. I'm curious about your own intentions, personally.
Well, personally, it's none of your beeswax.
I don't know. I just didn't expect you to be an Eton at all.
You've known me for 5 minutes.
You've known
No,
me
no.
only as an Etone. Well, I see. Well, since our job is rather unusual, I'll tell you about that too as I explain.
Time for small backstory.
How old was I? I don't remember. Maybe 8 or 9. About then, Dad taught me how to use a gun.
Power of beer.
Don't point it at your face, you cretin.
Yep, got it.
One day, Dad disappeared. Yeah, just left them two kids right there on their own.
Oh,
He just
douchebag.
ran out on us.
He wants to go get milk.
Well, we still have their mother.
No, he went to get cigarettes. That's the...
He never came back. Even so,
And
I
he
stayed
never
in his
came
room,
back.
alone often. Dad's gun, Dad's smell. Those things were all I had left to remind me of him.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Was the smell of whiskey?
But that happiness didn't last long.
And I thought most of the main characters of Digimon had really complicated parents.
When I was 12, my house was attacked by Reapers, and Mom was killed. They were looking for Dad, but Mom wouldn't talk. Why were the zombies looking for his father?
I don't know.
I can still hear it. The sound of the bullets. I even remember the sound of the empty shells hitting the floor. After that, the Reapers screamed and I heard someone fall.
I will
guess-
mention more about the Reapers later. But Bishop
Sometime?
Stein actually arrived and saved the day.
Bishop Stone was the one who helped us then. Meeting him changed my life from then on. Hey, wait a second. Do Reapers talk? Yes, they're not just monsters. Some of them are more intelligent than humans, so
Now don't interrupt me again.
See, Drover, the game is a bit ahead of you.
zombies that actually become more intelligent.
More for later.
Primera and I hid in the shadows, escaping death, but, well, we hadn't spoken ever since.
She stopped talking, yeah.
Wow.
Like a godsend, kind-strong Bishop Stone gave me an example to follow.
And I jumped about randomly for some reason.
I wanted to help save someone in need, like he saved us. I didn't want there to be any more children like Primera. So I began training at the Ethos to become just like Bishop Stone.
His own personal hero.
What a great guy. I left Prim in the care of the Ethos and entered the monastery. Many years passed. And I came back taller. My sister had not grown a single inch since then. I returned home to open the orphanage. You know what's weird? With the way his sprite looks like, it looks like he's wearing a giant coat with bow tie.
It actually is a...
Oh!
I mean, I'll give you an artwork later.
He was terrible. Some
the
terrible
scar.
accident had happened. Not
Yeah.
only his looks, but his character and manner had changed. I remembered him as a quiet man, but more than that, I thought maybe I didn't really remember him. Of course you didn't remember him. He's not as crap as the Quiet Man game, also released by Square Enix.
Jesus Christ.
But Prim needed a father, and she'd become attached to him. Deep in my heart, I too thought I wanted a father. Oh god, daddy issues. But even now, I just can't believe he is my real father. Would a real father treat his son like he's an accident?
Wow!
This is gonna sound pathetic. I almost went so far as to sell my body to support Prim, since we only had each other for so long. Oh my god, so this was the precursor for Nier.
Yeah, to an extent.
It's interesting how many games I can sort of course back to this game now in a way. Very uncanny. Almost sold your body. Don't you know, kid? There are things you can get back once sold, and there are things you just can't. And I'm a
That's
pirate
one way to
saying
put
this
it,
on you. Couldn't you see that? Of course I refrain. But they said they'd give me 3,000 G for one night.
That's not what they meant by... Oh, no.
You fool! Listen! Next time you and your sister need help, come to my ship.
And now we're best buddies.
We're self-sufficient, so at least you don't need to worry about food and a place to sleep. Now don't you ever say so your body in front of me ever again. You understand? Ooh.
Remember Bart's backstory? Both him and Margie were deeply traumatized by Shakan's action when they were children. So...
Yeah. Why don't you just come out and say thank you? Jeez, Baka. Well... You haven't taken care of us yet, so I won't say it yet.
Fair enough.
Cute kid. Real cute.
Just a piece of me.
I think this is the start of a wonderful romance.
Let's go to the haunted ship, as he's actually referred to. Well, not in game, but yes. So basically, what Billy... Well, I can explain that in combat, but yeah, that's basically the extent of Billy's backstory. We will learn more, obviously, later. But yes, Jova, Billy's design is to combine this coat with this giant bow tie, basically, and to give the badass preacher kind of look with guns, which was a common kind of stereotypes in comic books, particularly between the 70s and the 90s. It was actually very common. There's been a comic book called Preacher, but it's kind of like that.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. It's weird, though, because his actual portrait here doesn't seem to suggest that he's wearing a suit with bow tie, but a turtleneck under the coat. But I guess he actually is wearing a bow tie. It's just out of view.
All right, Billy is mandatory for this section, obviously. I will keep Ellie because she's useful. And I think I'll bring Cheetah there. Faye is just there for,
come
the
on, Tia.
background.
Why don't we drag around Faye's unconscious body while we're
That would be hilarious.
Ellie's just dragging it.
And Faye's head keeps hitting rocks. Like,
Bonk, bonk, bonk.
ow.
No. Did you see, guys? It'd be like that. It'd be like that movie where they drag around Daniel Radcliffe's corpse.
And then for battles, Ellie just whacks Faye's body into enemies, and
Like
that's
a club,
Faye's way
yes.
of helping.
And now Billy's leading the party.
It'll be like Weekend at Bernie's.
He will do that for the rest of the part, but I do manage to complete the entirety of the ship in one part only.
Yeah, that's neat.
So,
All right.
okay.
Mason also has new things in the shop, so basically it's a good point to stock up. Go on, Jova.
So, excluding Cheetah and Faye for obvious reasons, have we come across your favorite party member?
My favorite party member aside from from Cheetah and Faye probably would be either Ellie or Bart. There is one later on that I do believe had the best potential for a backstory, but sadly it's one of those characters whose backstory was kind of axed off, at least partially, so we won't get the full story about this character. But I do believe if realized fully, that one would have been my favorite, and probably Pedro's, considered to hazard a guess, considering what kind of backstory we reserved to this character. But again, all in due time.
Does the character have a tragic backstory of a cat dying?
Not everything that's involved a cat dying with. Sorry, Dad.
See, here's the thing that you've been mostly exposed to Megaton Musashi in your Yokai Watch, but believe it or not, it's not all that common in level 5's works.
So yeah, what we need to do now is actually to exit the Yggdrasil before we be docked at the, if I recall correctly, at the ship.
Oh, so now Billy's at the lead, I guess.
Yeah, for this mission alone, because again, it's literally his mission and we're just support. So there you go.
Oh, and then he fell off the ship.
No, we were on the rope. So, it's a bit dark inside, yeah, like Ellie said.
It's dark.
No shit.
Does anyone have a lighter?
No.
Anyway, one more thing. On the room's middle wall is a red switch. Push the switch to turn on the lights.
How do you do it?
Hold on.
Scared? So Ellie agrees with me.
No. Just a little.
Oh, that's cute. In case you're wondering how Billy knows the inside of a ship, this is technically one of the Ethos ship that supposedly has been, being stranded, and that's why he's there to investigate and exterminate every Reaper that he actually managed to find. But let me explain this because again, it's gonna become apparently in a second with the gameplay. Like Billy said, he has 3 types of gun, each corresponding to your buttons. Triangle is for the light gun, which doesn't do much damage, but is the one that tends to have more projectiles and it's more easier to spam. Square is for the ether gun, which doesn't consume bullets, but is locked onto either fire or wind, if I recall correctly. So if there is a monster that actually absorbs these, it's best if you don't use it. And X is for the big gun, aka a shotgun, as you will be seeing, in a bit, actually, because I do showcase most of his moves. Which does the more damage, but it's the most imprecise, potentially. Ironic enough, considering it is a shotgun and Billy's firing it at close range. And all of these moves all these special moves do not consume projectiles, but it's best if you actually do keep track on how much he uses them, because you might find yourself, without them in the most crucial moments. So it's best to check from time to time and occasionally stock up a bit in the shops, basically. But yes, all of these moves involve him shooting his gun in some kind of particular particular fashion. Pretty cool, actually. As for his Ether ability, it's basically your main healer, effectively replacing Cheetah in some kind of way, because he has a very decent, strong single healing move, a very strong, decent multi healing move, a revive move, a revive spell, and if I recall correctly, something else. I think there's a speed enhancer, basically the equivalent of the haste magic from Final Fantasy. So it's very encouraged for tougher fights. Really becomes essential for the last third of the game, essentially, because it's the one that has the best abilities for on-foot combat. And yeah, even when it comes to the gear battle, it will be useful, but you will see later how specifically.
So basically, Billy is a healer who can still deal out some big damage.
Much like Cheetah, this game has the good idea of having medics that can still defend on their own rather than being essentially squishy and very vulnerable or pointless outside of actually using their healing moves. So there's that also kind of thought process. Every character can be useful despite their innate ability. So if you are in the pinch.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's good level design. Because I really like this character, but it sucks I can't use them that much because
keep in mind that there's still kind of a tier list of how effective the characters can be, and Billy's still very high anyway on his own. It's more like the game devs add the priority straight and the idea of making the healers actually useful rather than forcing the player to having to drag them along. Again, in contrast, for example, Ellie, as you have seen, Ellie is supposed to be our black mage, your elemental, kind of offensive capability magic, but she can still handle decently enough the physical moves. It's just that maybe in comparison to, say, Cheetah, she maybe doesn't have the same kind of speed, for example. So if you want to have fights that end as fast as you can, you're not sure to bring her with. But to compensate that, her magic basically covers the entire elemental repertoire, meaning that she can actually, hit an enemy weakness if you actually get to know what that is. Sadly, you don't really. Sorry, go on.
Makes me wonder what tier Margie would been if they had actually made her playable.
Well, we don't know, because again, we don't really know about that.
All we do know is that the concept involved her essentially being BB Hood from Darkstalkers.
Yeah, but we don't really know what kind of ether ability she would have had.
Exactly.
You have to remember that each character does possess some ether ability of some kind. It just depends if they're offensive, defensive, or just for healing properly, And some are useful, like mostly the offensive and healing are decent. While when it comes to the buffs and debuffs, it's only relative, because some, like Cheetahs, are really useful. Others are superfluous, like Bar, for example, later on gets abilities that allow him to infuse his weapon or the target's weapon with the accorded element, which would be cool, but you get it so late in the game that you really don't need it anymore, And then we have stuff like Rico's abilities, which sadly are kind of useless, or both Faye and Bart key projectiles, which you might as well don't really need because they do so much pitiful damage.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
it is not up to say. I mean, you also have to understand that you can't have every single character in your JRPG be super awesome at everything, because that way it eliminates the need to strategize.
That's what the vanilla version of Final Fantasy XII was, actually, having basically 6 Shoto clones. Sure, there was actually a difference in stat. Basically, if you wanted your best magic user, you basically needed to use Penelo of all people. But thankfully, the International Zodiac Just system and the more recent Zodiac Age actually did, spruce things, varied enough way for you to actually decide to rely on which character do you want, particularly.
Basically.
But yeah, so basically your mission it's similar a bit to a train kind of mission. You need to go through each compartment, unlocking each compartment, and fighting all the Reapers or Wels that are in there, which let's talk about them, because, for example, we're facing this one right now. As mentioned before, the Reapers are basically the undead of the game, but, as Billy mentioned, they do still possess some kind of intelligence. Their conscience is kind of completely gone, but they will still be intelligent enough to speak or have some kind of intention. However, It's kind of similar. Okay, not completely, but it's kind of similar to the people affected by the mana. Not the mana. Sorry, the White Witch spell in the first Kuni, in a sense that they turn kind of rabid without knowing that. It's kind of like a zombie, just slightly more intelligent than that. Just a bit more evil in that kind of sense. There's something more to that, but that's what the game will explain at the appropriate time anyway. For the time being, you basically have to just treat it as a simple cleanup type of mission, which is good also to introduce Billy and to have his mechanic explained to us. There we go. But yeah, otherwise this dungeon is fairly easy actually. And like I said, after this log that was Kislev, coming to this actually really did felt like a breath of fresh air, ironic enough considering the stench on the Wels.
Anyway,
yes, Jovan?
so seeing Billy's design in full, he seems like one of those preachers, or heck, in a sense, a cowboy, essentially.
Yes,
which,
remember,
okay, to be fair, I kind of was expecting that, seeing as how, you kind of hinted at me with the southern accent, and
he did take, despite not liking his father, he does take from that, and Josiah being your stereotypical cowboy. So
honestly, it's a design I dig, and honestly makes me wonder what a Western, and by Western I mean
Wild West.
Yeah, I wonder what a Wild Western RPG made by Square Enix would
Wild
be
Arms.
Well, there's, like I mentioned in the previous part, there's Wild Arms, which is actually one of Sony's IPs. We will decide if you actually can like that or not.
Yeah, I did some research. The only one that they re-released is the third one. I don't know what their opinion on that one is.
So Wild Arms was essentially a wild. So if I understand correctly, Wild Arms was a Wild West RPG.
Basically, it's been actually a long time ago since I actually played them. The closest you'll get also to a Wild West section for a Square game is one particular chapter of a Super Nintendo game called Live Alive, which has the gimmick that it's kind of similar to Seven Soldier, the story from Grant Morrison from DC Comics, Jova, in the sense that it talks about different, self-contained micro stories. In different ages, like there's one in the Middle Ages, there's one in the prehistoric times, there's one in feudal Japan, there's one in the Wild West, there's in the far future, for example. And all of them are fighting something that shares kind of similar name, but it's not the same character. And at the end, it's revealed they were all fighting a war that was going on through the entire time, and all of them together fight again the final boss, which is the classic Eldritch Abomination that has been piloting things from behind the scenes. It's very cool the way it's constructed. Octopath Traveler is basically the spiritual successor of that, like I did mention in the past.
I guess we'll tackle that before we get to Octopath Traveler. Then.
I was hoping Square would release the game. There was the hint that they were going to do that, I think 1 or 2 years ago. But sadly, they have not done it yet, and the game was never localized outside of Japan. So a French translation does exist, and it's pretty cool, actually. But that's the only thing that we have right now. But let me explain. Square Enix has been on a good roll in releasing its whole catalog. We have seen, for example, there's a new recording. There's a new Chocobo Racing coming that's supposed to come out. They stealthily, was kind of included in a leak that involved a bunch of titles, but they did stealthily made an ActRaiser remake out of fucking nowhere, actually.
Yeah.
And that's not to say they haven't done even new things. They had a weird experiment, aside from Yokotaro's card game, which is the one that I'm going to talk about, there's also dungeon encounters that took everyone by surprise, which is a very simple and yet a fun game to play, very old school like that.
What's that new game that's coming out for Spoken? Is it?
Okay,
Well,
how the
Spoken-
hell do workers on this part of the level hear anything that's being said?
They have walkie-talkies of some kind, I guess. But to answer your question, Deji, it's the game done by the team behind Final Fantasy 15. It's basically a complete new IP, but still using the Luminous engine, and it's telling an original story about an isekai story about this girl who gets transported into this fantasy world and has to find a way out. All right, we're actually close to the end of the dungeon because we just need to react to check the terminal and we should be good to go.
Way quicker than one would expect a dungeon to go.
Yeah, again, unlike the ones in Kislev, this dungeon actually doesn't overstay. It's welcome.
Do you think maybe this was their way of compensating for all the time spent in Kislev by,
Could be, easily could be. Act 3 is generally much better than 2 in that regard as well. Also, sorry, I just left the menu hanging for a second. Don't worry,
So
it
let
will
me
be
guess.
ended
Billy's on a
quickly.
mission from God, but he's about to figure out that that mission from God may actually be a mission from Satan.
Much like everything in this game, Jova, it's never this simple. You'll be able to see for yourself. Oh, what's this?
Oh, this is a JRPG.
Oh, hey,
Oh,
Genova.
fuck. Actually, no.
Excuse me, hello?
We have a boss fight against a palette swap of Red Drum. Basically one I tier Wels, which does confirm that the Red Drum that we fought in the sewer was actually one of the Wels.
And a
So
Reaper.
Yeah, and a Reaper that. Fortunately, this guy is basically the same kind of moveset as Red Drum, minus I think the gel. It doesn't spruce gel on you, but he still has the bullshit insta-kill attack that replenishes his HP, and he starts immediately with that, so bye,
Whoa!
Andy.
Just drained her of the blood.
Yeah.
Shoot,
Which
I
is
think we may need a medic
Thankfully, this time, since you have Billy this time around, you can potentially also rely on him when it comes to actually healing. So you're in a much better advantage than you were with the fight against Red Drum.
So I guess pray to
Okay,
God this
Billy's
guy doesn't use
stance
the
animation,
one KO move
yes.
on Billy.
Yes, that's it.
His stance animation looks like he's injured, and it just confuses me.
No, it's more like
The idea is
punching.
that he has
It's kind of like
his hand on
readying
a
his gun. And you can also see from his animation that his main guns are basically on his holsters, on his the ether gun is on literally his right shoulder, and the big gun is on his left shoulder. Yes, he manages to conceal a shotgun inside his coat.
So tell me, Tia, what do you do if this guy one-hit kills Billy, since Billy is kind of...
Well, you can use the items like he just did. Again, this is why you never go in a dungeon without the proper amount of items. You will always be able to save your lives. Otherwise, this is pretty straightforward as a battle, so it basically just will go on for a bit. I guess it's a good time to actually talk about a bit about something that I didn't. You might have noticed the AP meter right under the time bar of your characters, and that it can fill up. The way you're supposed to actually fill up its number is by using, not necessarily using special moves, but by using attacks that do not deplete completely the counter that you have on the bottom. So let's say you have a 6 maximum, and let's say you do only those that fill up 4 rather than 6. At that moment, you gain the discarded number for the AP bar. So let's say you did 4 instead of 6, you gain 2 in that kind of sense. When you manage to accumulate enough, on your menu, on your file menu, there is a combo option that you can use, and if your number is high enough, you can literally just change some of your special move if they fit the criteria with the right number, and your character will execute all of them in rapid order, dealing more damage to the enemy. So the strategy will be to conserve your special move only to unleash them properly later on. You can go either way with this, in my opinion. It's a very cool feature, but the game doesn't really incentivize you to do it, and just brute forcing your way through, just using special moves, would be basically the same. There you go. I think I'm about to demonstrate. There you go. in this case, Billy chaining 2 moves at the same time. And yes, the game actually speeds that up to for convenience sake, rather than having the having each move taking its slowest time. So yeah, there is a good way to strategize the battle in the way you want, but I do believe it's a bit, considering how the game balance is done, it's a tad unnecessary. You could go either way. You can still do it if you want. It's just that you don't really have to, basically. Otherwise, other than that, this fight is fairly easy. You don't really have to use Ellie's elemental spells, but if you bring Cheetah like I did, it's a cool thing if you actually put up fire resistance. I don't think I actually did, but you can go either way. But if you put fire resistance, his Bloody Rain attack, which does fire damage to everyone, will basically do you nothing, meaning that you increase your chances of survival.
Probably would have preferred if it had a health bar, so we have a good idea of how we are gauged in this fight.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. After this, basically, we will kind of be done. So if you have any other questions, go ahead.
Well, I mean, so far I do appreciate Billy's animations and whatnot, but I do wonder if part of the reason that certain characters didn't make it in as playable was because they figured that maybe some of the gameplay ideas they had in mind would overlap. And
potentially, there is a character later on. Well, again, not spoiling. This is another character completely different from what I was saying before. There is a character later on, which, like I said, I do believe it's kind of the worst that we get. Not in a sense that it's a bad character, but but in a sense that gameplay-wise, they are so superfluous that you could have easily relegated that space to someone like Margie, and it probably would have been better, like that. There is a story reason why that character, joins the party and has a gear. It's not just like that out of nowhere, but it still does feel kind of like a waste. And the actual backstory we associate to that character, in comparison, doesn't have the same bite as the others, unfortunately. But I get probably why they did. But again, I probably would have preferred Margie instead of that.
Sure can't wait to see what Billy's gear turns out to be.
Maybe you don't have to wait for long.
Actually, so everyone who's playable at some point, we can assume that they will, be a main character and will get a gear, or does the game ever do a fake out?
We don't have temporary party members. If that's what you ask, no. Right, everyone will join. Maybe a character will leave temporarily the party and then joins back later. If that's what you ask, kind of like what Ellie did, sure.
I'm talking strictly temporary, or more like a fake out character where.
There was supposed to be one 6th ranger, kind of like last character that the intention would have been temporary, would have joined you right before the final dungeon, but sadly didn't happen. But I'm not telling because we haven't met that yet, so I'm not telling what that is.
It's my buddy. I'll call him over here. Wait, that guy was your buddy, or...?
No. Again, what Richard was supposed to say is the fact that the Reaper is calling friends, and Billy reacts, I know what that is, I'll call my buddy from here, but again, poorly worded.
Weird way of putting that, yeah.
I got distracted by the realistic photo that got turned into a JPEG in the background.
How fun.
Alright, let's have the kids have a reason why we're standing so up.
Billy, signal! Hey everyone! It's Shift G! You know what that means?
This house turns into a mech.
Direction, okay. Target coordinates X, take X, 1020, whatever.
Roger! Engage autopilot! Catapult ready!
Look out!
What, even the people on the seesaws have a duty?
Yes, because
no
they
way.
open the garage and out of it comes Billy's gear. Ladies and gentlemen, Renmazuo.
Wait, what?
Is this why he had
It's
that
so funny
secret
because
compartment?
me, Pedro, and Deji, we just finished to see Megaton Musashi in these reeks moments like that.
It kind of looked like from the initial shot of it coming out of there, it kind of looked like it was just a giant hand flipping the bird.
That mech
Gods
literally...
get him!
Today's launch was so-so. Oh, this
Who
is
are
a
you, Professor Oak?
this is a regular occurrence for them, I guess. Also,
Yes, in case of emergency, Billy launches the Renmazuo from the inside of the orphanage because we are about to fight a giant Reaper.
also, that mech literally has a cape.
Yes.
Yes. Egotist.
And that's cool.
I mean, it's cool,
What?
but it's like, huh.
There's something.
There's something in the water.
The big water.
A lady
sorry,
in the
I'm
water.
Stop.
Sure, I don't fight
Pedro?
it.
See, the cool breeze, so different from the desert.
Chiton, are you high?
Dude, I'm
Billy,
just trying.
Rose
I'm just trying to
Buddy.
appreciate the beauty of the scenery around us.
Okay, you're
Sue me.
high. You know, you're ignoring the fact that there is a giant creature in the water about to try to murder us.
Is he scared of heights and he's just trying not to think right now?
Maybe. Yes,
There
so
it is.
beautiful and calm as the sea. Faster than I expected. Well, here it comes.
You did say that we would not stand much of a chance against it by ourselves.
It should be any time now.
Elimina now. There it is.
Right on time.
Oh, okay then.
And I was just like, ah.
Yeah. I just wanted to say hi.
I
And
wanted
in
to
time for the
play.
Yggdrasil to emerge to give us a battlefield.
And get our other gears.
Mm-hmm.
Great timing on the part of the kids. I owe them one. Well, get ready, 'cause here it come. Shouldn't it be here it
Hey.
comes?
Basically,
I forgot the S. Sorry.
basically the Renmazuo works just the same as Billy. 3 types of guns: light, ether, and big. You know. But otherwise it's basically the same. Sadly, the thing that gets nerfed are basically the ether abilities, obviously, because like I mentioned, the healing doesn't work like that on Gears. But let me explain this. Earlier on, I went back onto Nissan and collected the ether doubler accessory that I did mention all those times ago from Nissan. If you give that to Ellie, it doubles all of the potency of all of her ether spells, but in exchange, it has to double the cost in MP. Here's the thing. The arrows count as an ether attack, but they don't cost MP. They cost fuel. That doesn't get affected by that. So if you give the ether double to Ellie, the arrows are able to basically mold the entire floor with both bosses until almost at the end of the game just by spamming these fucking things.
Beautiful.
So,
Richard said the S is for sleep, which is something I'm not getting, so nobody else is getting it.
Richard, you make it sound like you were suffering during the making of this game.
You know, I'm very
S is for suffering.
I'm
The game-
very, very disappointed that Billy's mech didn't do a Sentai pose.
I think it's more Common Rider-esque, honestly.
Yeah, later on, it will
Tatsu-
also. Later on, it will give also a special attack that's also very reminiscent of, Sentai era characters.
Spider-Man.
No. Well, a bit actually. Remember, Spider-Man was the precursor of the Sentai era.
Yeah, it's the reason why we have mechs.
But let me explain also this. So the gimmick with the giant Wels is that it starts with a very high defense, but it grows in size every time you spam ether attacks. The catch is that it lowers the defense as well. However, if you spam the arrows with Ellie, it will never become a nuisance because you'll be able to kill it just in time. So there is that. Wonderful. So,
Why is that guy jacking in the background? Thank you for helping me, everyone. To be honest, that was too dangerous for me on my own. I couldn't have done it without you. And the kids.
no kidding.
Is your job always this dangerous? I never thought you would call it gear. But what in hell is the Ethos thinking anyway? We Etones are merely fulfilling our divine mission. Sorry, it was wrong of me to say that. Don't take it so seriously.
Oh.
So you're going to report back to the Ethos about your job's results, right? Well, if you like, we shall give you a ride to the Ethos's HQ. It's on our way. That would be great, so long as it doesn't put you too much out. Something to give you as a sign of my gratitude, so please accompany me into the Ethos's headquarters, where nothing bad will happen, I'm sure.
Well, we'll have to see, because
Seriously,
that's actually
can
what...
I stop jacking off over there?
We'll see what happens in the next part, actually. But don't worry, nothing wrong will
Good night,
happen.
everybody.
Ethos HQ.
Joe, this isn't Battle Network, so no.
See ya.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.